Okay, I started it. I'm sending you the notes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And that's not my real name. Let me blow you up here. Me shrink me and my bloated head. You need to switch back to yourself. No, I can hear you, but we can't see you.
Um, they did take DNA, whoever made us, of other things, but they did splice unique human traits on there. And when I asked AI about this, it basically told me it's because we had super swivel fast evolution that no other animal has. We responded to the environment so quickly. We had hyper evolution, and of course that's never happened anywhere else. But it just happened to us. We were magic, and the difference between us and the other animals is so drastic and so huge. I mean, the amount of imagination you have, the ability to create things, write music, build things. I mean, think ahead, understand time, understand death, understand. We do things that are just way beyond what other animals can do, and it really is no reason in nature for that to happen, other than if someone created us to do that.
I
And
want you to go take a look at the YouTube stream for the audio.
okay, and so in the end, what we're trying to determine is how did we come about, and
Its evolution, as it's stated regarding humans, does it apply to us as it applies to the rest of the animal kingdom? And is the out of Africa theory accurate? Which is, did we evolve in a straight line from Homo erectus to Neanderthal to Cro-Magnon to human, or is it something else? You'll have to speak.
Okay, well, the from what the research I've seen is that um, when they say we came out of Africa, but our Y chromosomes don't match up with Africans. Well, about 8 to 10,000 years ago, um, the amount of modern humans reduced to almost zero, to the point where there's so few males that most of our genetics for on the male side is just from they maybe think one or two individuals, as if a flood happened and most people died. But there was 14 different female X chromosomes that were they identified. So there's 14 female chromosomes that make up most of the European and Asian and Mediterranean area. The Africans' chromosomes were slightly separated, and at about 200,000 years, the humans spread all over Europe and Asia. But then there was some sort of catastrophe that eliminated the number of people. And then during that time, 200,000 years ago is when our chromosomes fused. But there's no evidence that our chromosomes were fused in Africa. They don't know where it came from. These are it's conjecture. But they also said that we had a second case of slight genetic modification about 7,000 to 10,000 years ago, at the time the flood supposedly took place. And the total number of humans was so low that especially on the male side, it was like we said, it was almost just one male parent for all Europeans from what they've tested so far. And when you have, say, 14 women, that means you have 28 sets of individual DNA, because each person carries two. And when they check,
did you check the audio?
Yes, it's working.
Okay.
And so what I asked Grok, and it doesn't want to answer this question.
Well, that was the most interesting thing, is how much pushback I got from the AIs regarding basically the subject matter. It's dead set on out of Africa, and anything else. Anything that suggests anything else, excuse me, upsets it. It will actually refuse to talk about it. It won't even. It'll cut you off.
And they're what Croc says, which is actually factually incorrect. When I looked into the studies, it said human chromosome 2. It said is indeed the result of a telomere to telomere end-to-end fusion, which has never happened before, of two ancestral chromosomes that remain separate. And the chromosomes are 2p and 2q. And they're different than chimpanzees, baboons, and gorillas. But they estimated it happened about 7 million years ago. But scientists have now said it happened 200,000 years ago. But it's funny because it's the only time that TAGGG, I don't know if you know anything about
Yeah,
genes,
it's
and
the amino acids that make up the
and the amino
DNA.
acids, CCTAA, have been strung together and they complement each other in reverse. So it looks like someone put a marker in there and say, like a little sign, we were here, letting everyone know that they modified it. And because it's, mathematically perfect in both directions. And they said there's multiple versions of the genes being in a specific order and then reversing themselves later on down. What do you call it when you have? Uh,
Mirrored?
yeah, it's mirrored, and a lot of our genes are like that, and no other creatures are. So if it was just some miracle that this DNA just threw itself together and a chunk fell out, and besides that too, all the junk DNA that was before this splice was removed. The repetitive DNA, which we didn't use, that they've determined by looking at it that was just there from previous mistakes, was actually removed from our DNA, and it was shortened to be even shorter than a gorilla's and a chimpanzee. So our DNA is more complicated and shorter. And the funniest thing is that they said we were 95% like a chimpanzee, but in fact we're only 25% when they check, especially the Y chromosome. It's completely re-engineered. And when I asked Grok about this, he said it's because we had super swivel, super fast evolution that caused that due
I've
to
seen the X-Men.
farming, because we started farming our DNA, because the trees were attacking us, we had to fight them off, and only the strong survived being attacked by trees and grain, because in the fields they're deadly.
Yes.
And so we had to overcome the great attack of the grain, and I guess fencing causes people to not reproduce and die off. Once we put in fencing and had herding animals stuck inside fences, 99% of the male population just dropped dead and quit mating. This all looks like it's sort of lining up to be almost like a biblical flood, and
well,
the
we do know for a fact that there was a very traumatic, and even modern science doesn't dispute this, that there was a very rapid decline in all living organisms on Earth around 11,000 years ago. It was a extinction level event where 80%, particularly in North America, is basically wiped out. Um, and so it's not even really that controversial. The controversial part is that we come out at that they want us, for whatever reason, political, that they're trying to paint this picture of forward progression, incremental forward progression, that's never been interrupted, and that we're constantly getting better. But what it really looks like is there was a group of animals that were human-like, and then all of a sudden, because actually Neanderthals and Denisovans actually have the same edit, which is something I did not know, and they also have 46, but it happened lockstep. All the every across the board, all of them got the same upgrade at the same time.
yeah, that's weird.
And they're not living near each other.
And yeah, and that's another explanation that Grok tried to feed me, that we're moving from hunting gathering to farming all over the world simultaneously. There's still hunter gatherers in Africa now. They never started farming. Why does farming have to do with the precipitous drop of males breeding?
Well, it's more than likely a wipeout, and I think we have to look at what the not just the Bible, but all of the religious texts have a version of the Garden of Eden, just like they have a version of so all the major world religions have this thing where god or gods come down and they teach humanity civilization, and they upgrade humanity from a previous version. The Babylonians spell it out directly as they took primates and basically upgraded them to be humans.
Hmm.
And the Bible says that Adam and Eve were created by God. Uh, but there are many, many religions out there that basically have various versions of that same story, predating the Bible. And so it's this repeating story of God-like beings or being creating humanity and living in a garden. And you could say that this garden could be also be an outside lab. You could very
Yeah,
easily make
that's all. Yeah, you can say that, but that's sort of we really don't have any evidence of that. And
the evidence is that the genetics were modified by something.
yes,
That there is no other evidence other than the DNA, and everything else is speculative. But
well,
it could
the
be
total
argued that.
yeah the lack of fossils during that time for humans, the lack of civilizations that date to that time. Most of them are just around Mesopotamia, around Babylon only. The divergence between the African human subgroup and the Europeans, and where they didn't contact each other for extended periods of time, and the emergence of a completely new uh, haploid group that it originated out of the Middle East too, um, and that they can't figure out where it came from. And so the when I looked at the descriptions, Grok gave me some information about other animals that had fusion sites, but and
But it's not telomere to telomere, and so
no,
uh,
it's telomeres, but it's telomeres to the top of the thing, not telomere to telomere. It's but they
uh,
and
it,
he's trying to say that just had happened by magic and because of farming and people deciding not to let people have sex, that the total number of people breeding, males especially, was you know down due to societal changes. I just don't believe that. It doesn't make any sense. No group of men would put up with that because
well,
somebody told them
I
not
do
to
have a
not to.
blurbit on this that I could read off if you
Sure,
don't
go
mind.
ahead.
So basically, the mainstream version of evolution is evolutionary fusion, is the technical term for it. And it basically, let's start out with what the geneticists agree on. Humans have 46 chromosomes, while chimpanzees and other great apes have 48. The mainstream explanation says that two ancestral chromosomes fused end to end millions of years ago, creating the new human chromosome 2. Humans have one fewer chromosomal pair than primates. Chromosome 2 shows clear signs of two older chromosomes merging perfectly, I might add. Um, the scientists all call this ancestral piece 2A and 2B, found separately in apes. The fusion likely happened 5 to 6 million years ago, according to mainstream science, around the time humans diverged from their common ancestors with great apes. Within chromosome 2, there is a region that looks like a telomere to telomere fusion site. A second inactive centomere exists inside of the chromosome, evidence of a double origin. Um, and again, this has never happened in any other animal group. And the only thing that we've ever been able to get to do anything like this was a very simple form of fungus, yeast. And it was after we bombarded it with radiation and a bunch of different things, and then allowed them to reproduce after damaging them. in ideal circumstances, and then they basically, although they are able to make it fuse, the yeast
Ye-
are they're not
They died.
viable afterwards.
They died.
And
Yeah.
so what?
Yeah, that's it. That's one of the thing. Well, ours fused backwards and telomere to telomere, and immediately we. It not only did we could we were active. We actually were better at reproducing.
Right. Despite the fusion, the chromosome remains fully functional and stable. Again, impossible basically in nature. The stability is used as an argument that natural selection preserved the fused version. I think that's retarded. To most researchers, the proof of shared ancestry is not a mystery. The story is presented as a natural event that helped shape humanity as we know it. And so, um, obviously that happened, but I have found two different divergent versions of when this happened. I've read one that was around 2 to 300,000 years ago, and I've read another one that happened a point 0.9 million years ago, so almost a million years ago, 900,000 years ago. And in these other versions, the issue is that there is no example of this happening anywhere in any other animal species, plant species, or fungus. Any genetic merging like this has ever been done, and that the species was viable after the merge. So there's no evidence of anything like this happening, and then the organism remaining viable, and that, like Tony was saying, that we actually improved. And the most important thing is when they do the sequencing, what they find is the very thing that makes us intelligent and superior is not found in any other animal group. It's basically completely unique. And what they say is, although animals will have all junk DNA and stuff like that, the sequences, although they might not be being used in the same way, often reappear in different systems, and that they're just recycled. And the order of the placement inside the DNA determines the functionality. What we have is basically, we thought of it as a bunch of colors, and the chromosomes are made of a box of crayons. We have a color crayon that is not existent color anywhere else on Earth. We're the only ones that possess it. And that is really very interesting, is that, and it makes it special, that of all the organisms on Earth, we're the only ones with that specific set and order of genes, like Tony was covering. It's virtually impossible for it to be that complicated, that big a change, and then the animal be viable. And any of these fusions, they almost never happen in mammals. They only happen in lower organisms like bacteria and things of that nature. And when there are reduction in chromosomes, it's usually due to a close thing like a deer or something like that caught on an island where there's a lot of inbreeding. And usually those animals are on the way out.
Yes. Also, it's the telomere to telomere connection. Usually, it's telomere to the top of the chromosome.
It,
The
it's
telomeres
it's
on the bottom, and it's actually spun around and attached upside down.
right.
And Grok said, "Oh, there's all sorts of examples of fusion, but there's no other examples of telomere to telomere fusion."
Yeah, it's usually centromere to telomere.
Yes.
and and that's the most important thing, is because the telomere is a very specific thing, and its purpose is to protect the chromosome. And so the telomere has this very, it's not supposed to be a fusion there, and what it does is essentially, uh, as that wears down during cell reproduction and division, the telomere gets smaller and smaller. And it has to, in order for a cell to reproduce, the telomere has to basically open up and go through a process of opening up to split the RNA strands into halves so that cells can reproduce. And so it has a very specific function, and that function is defective or not, does not happen on that chromosome. And so it's in every other animal that telomere does that. And so it's not natural in my opinion. I don't see how anybody can really look at this and come to the conclusion that this is some sort of mutation. It's the amount of changes that are made in this one edit, this one evolution. It's not like one of the amino acids is slightly out of order, and that is a happy accident. It's hundreds of thousands of actual amino acids have to be different, all in one perfect random event.
Yeah, and the odds of that happening are
Impossible.
impossible. And both the Denisovans and the Neanderthals did have that merger at the same time.
Which is makes it um so my
different species had the same modification at the same time.
Even if animals ended up with the same change over time, either something would go wrong, it would be different. They wouldn't all have the exact same edit and the exact same. It's ridiculous to think three different species, like that'd be like a lion, a tiger, and a jaguar, and a house cat decide to have the exact same upgrade, and then all of a sudden the upgrade makes them the dominant species on the planet.
Because there's no reason in nature for us to they can say it's because we started using our hands, we started eating more oil, so our brains grew. Why would our brains just grow? I mean, it's just through evolution, yeah, we picked the most dominant male who had the biggest brain, he could plan the best, but that would take. I mean, it just happened all at once. It just happened like we were
The
nothing,
nature tends to be lazy.
Yes, it makes the most efficient thing it can make at that time with the least amount of effort. In other words, it's not going to make, you're not going to have a bunch of mice evolving in a field and then a T-Rex comes along, the next thing. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to have one. There's no reason to have humans with gigantic brains who could dominate the whole world and take over everything.
And the brains are expensive biologically. The economy of if you think of it as an economy, in terms of calories, your brain is using up about half or more of your calories, and that would be a huge risk for biology to decide that.
And right here, Grok saying is evolutionary stabilizer. One centromere is inactivated and degraded, stabilizing the chromosome. The pericentric inversion, repetitive DNA turnover occurred post-fusion with humans to specific haplotypes emerging. These changes have been provided as a neutral or mildly beneficial platform for human-specific adaptation through direct links. Bipedal and brain sign. Magically, boom, one gene. We pick a bipedal, opposable thumbs, great vision, three-dimensional hearing, the ability to play chess, all happen at once. Oh, we got sing music, dance, make art. All that happened with one chromosome moving. Why would we adapt through nature when we're being attacked by cave bears to draw things on the walls and sing to each other? It doesn't even make any sense. It's not an advantage to be able to sing. It's only to entertain us.
I agree.
Why do birds sing? They sing the same tune over and over again, but and some birds can learn to copy things, but they don't know what they're saying.
Well, I don't know if you would even call it singing. It's a form of calling and communicating, and it's primarily to have to do with warning others of their species that there's a predator or prey. appears to us to be music because it's again, it's our
Our brain is
creativity.
designed. Our brain is designed to hear music. Yes.
And so we're hearing these noises and we think they're beautiful, but they're just calls, no different than tigers calling to each other. We just don't. We find that freaky and scary. Doesn't? Oh, the beautiful not, noises of the predator that's going to eat my face. So it's just happens to be that those noises are terrifying to us. So the alternative, which I don't know enough about this subject, but but not everyone is convinced it happened by chance. Certainly, I'm very skeptical. Some researchers, genetic engineers, and alternative thinkers like me argue that the precision of the fusion looks more like engineering than it does a random mutation. I would definitely think that Tony is also in that category. That it doesn't seem very logical for it to all the edit is just too big. The
Yeah,
fusion
and
site. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Listen to this real quick. It says the Y chromosome in humans have undergone significant structural changes compared to other primates. It contains a large palindromic sequence, regions that read the same forward and backward, which are more extensive in humans than in chimpanzees or gorillas or any other friggin' animal for that matter, Grok. These palindromes, found in male-specific regions of the Y chromosome, the MSY, help maintain gene integrity through gene conversion, a process where one DNA sequence is copied and repaired, but their size and arrangement differ markedly in humans. In other words, it's saying that those particular things were improvements made upon our genes after they edited out the redundant genes to allow us to reproduce and make copies of ourselves without mistakes better than any other animal. It's probably one of the reasons why we live longer. Anyways,
Well, we live about the same as elephants, but elephants live 70 years in the wild.
there's not a lot of stress on them.
No, there's drought. There's lots of things that could kill them, and they're certainly under stress now. But so it doesn't look like a random mutation, and to further support that, the fusion site is unusually neat, which is what you're saying. The sequence aligns almost perfectly. Most known chromosome fusions in nature cause instability and defects. This one did not. In fact, we got more stable. Yet chromosome 2 is stable, optimized, and vital to human biology. Meaning, if it's not exactly the way it is in our chromosome, we die. And it doesn't take much for this thing to fail. And so the chances of a perfect mutation like this happening and then it being massively beneficial and then again it happening in two divergent animal species seems impossible. um, and the other thing is although it is in Neanderthals and the Denisovans, it's not in Homo erectus, which is supposedly the precursor to all of us. And even under the mainstream thing, that's only 400,000 or 500,000 years ago. And so the basically our closest known relative that's supposed to be in line with us doesn't have it. And so how did we get it? If it didn't happen a long time ago and it was passed down to all three and our nearest direct relative doesn't have it and we all had it, then we evolved the same thing at the same time, relatively independent of each other. This perfect mutation that benefits those species. And why would we all get it? uh it,
And
we're
allowing us to
competitors.
crossbreed. Yeah, allowing us to crossbreed,
So
allowing us to reproduce with each other. And the Neanderthals did reproduce with us, and so did the Zenovians, obviously. So all these humans mated, and they could mate because the chromosomes were so similar. And but before that, nothing. We couldn't have mated with those things before
Yeah,
that.
and like tigers, although I guess they can mate with lions, they don't have a very high success rate, and it has to be a certain order. I don't know if it's the male to the female or whatever it is,
They can
but
do it both ways, but they usually end up being like mules. They can't reproduce.
so
Like a mule and a donkey and a horse. It makes a mule.
and obviously we're not mules, and so the order of the base pairs doesn't match what's expected from the standard fusion pattern. So it's extremely odd. The supposed fusion site has damaged, truncated telomere sequences, not what a naturally joined fusion would show. And so it I wouldn't call it damage. That's what Grok called it. I would call it editing of some kind, and because this damage was beneficial, so it's like Tony was saying, it ended up making us more stable. How can you have damage and stability? It's kind of it doesn't make sense.
The
Some
odds of
gen
that many genes coming together at that one point, because every gene, every piece of amino acid that's encoded in there has four, because it's not a binary
yes,
language. It's a, I guess, a quadrary language. So there's four different things for each specific amino acid that defines a gene, and there's hundreds of thousands of them. So the chances, if you do the math, every time, that's like uh, taking, it's just astronomical. It's in a trillion.
it's each of the amino acids times itself four times.
Yes.
And so it's to
And
the
then it's
it's
four times four times four times four times four. And not because none of them match up with the chimpanzees. So we're talking about trillions to one that this could happen. And then
and then you
happening, and then being perfect. Not just happening. That's just it happening. Then being perfect.
and then having it be perfect in two other species that supposedly evolved independently at different times from us, and then the upgrade happening convergently. It's very very strange. It's a very strange thing. So some geneticists say the DNA looks edited. I agree, as though recombination was deliberate. I agree. The chromosome contains key genes tied to the human brain development and consciousness. That's very odd. The cortex responsible for empathy, logic, and reasoning depends on this gene region, meaning what makes you a man or a woman or a human being that cares about your children and wants to have puppies hanging out and wants you to build things. This one edit is the sole responsible thing. You wouldn't be a human being. You'd just be some monkey running around in the forest if it wasn't for this thing.
Yeah, throwing your
Uh,
poo at people. Yeah.
yes. We'd be making weird smiley faces at each other, throwing dog shit at each other. Yeah, it would be great. These traits are unique, advances in humans compared to any other species. I, like I just said, we wouldn't even be people as we know it. We would just be another animal. In the forest, basically, if this wasn't. And that's the thing is, what are the odds that this happens? And then all of the books on Earth talk about, in one way or another, that this happened intentionally. Why is science so set on this idea that we come out of Africa, that we evolve from monkeys, and that this progression is this progression
It's
in one
linear.
direction? What?
Yeah, it's a linear progression over time. But really, what it looks like, it was a big step
A
from
massive step.
animal, yeah, from animal to supreme being. It was just,
It's sort of like essentially, in the first X-Men, the opening scene talks about similar jumps, and that those similar jumps actually lead to the mutants with supernatural abilities. And essentially that's what this represents compared to the animals that we evolved from. We're light years ahead. And in theory, if this is an unnatural edit, imagine what if we had gotten more of whatever this is. What's really possible? I mean, it's um, so the idea that
And there's two separate ideas going on at the same time here. One was that our 200,000 years ago we got this upgrade, human 2.0, and then 7,000 years ago we're down to almost nobody and only one male. And in Europe, there was in Africa, there's a completely different story, but in Europe and the Middle East, that's what happened. We were down to a small amount of people, as if a flood happened, and then a couple brand new haploid groups just showed up miraculously at that around the same time that that those things happened, and you know we have the different blood types and stuff, and it's interesting, and
it's
because
interesting and defies logic.
and it's completely mystifying. There is nothing in this that says we evolved from primordial soup. Sure, originally the animals might have, but I believe that God designed the earth to run that way. But it looks like we were obviously engineered.
I'm not even sure the primordial soup thing holds up.
It's
they're,
hard.
they're
It's hard to
finding
believe.
they're finding viruses in space.
Yeah, so it's as if the universe is alive or something.
Yeah, and there's lots of explanations for how life could get into space if it's just floating around on an asteroid from another star system that blew up, and the virus is just in an inanimate state, and ends up slapping into a like supposedly our entire um, celestial cradle is the result of a supermassive star exploding. And actually, in order to get an Earth type star, you have had to have two generations of stars live and die,
Yes,
and basically you only get heavy metal like gold when you have a the
secondary.
second generation of star explode.
If it
Uh,
has to be the right size star too.
right.
So it's a lot of weird things that have to come together.
Yes.
We're made out of stardust. And this is what Grok says, addressing the context, because it cannot stand the idea that we didn't evolve from monkeys. Grok can't stand it. Whatever Elon Musk put this stuff in there, he must really hate religion, and
It's not just all of them are pretty resistant to that. Gemini is not exactly very, because I asked all three of them, and the howdy, Mark is on there. Say hi, Tony.
hello, Mark, and and
He
he said
says he
that
likes heavy metal sometimes. Well, all we'll blow you up with our star, and then you'll be heavy metal.
we'll all be heavy metal together. It could be pick a an element. I'll be plutonium. You could be like what was it, Einsteinium or something.
Yeah, I'm going to be unpentium, which is the stuff supposedly that you make graviton drives out of. I'm going to be a dilithium crystal.
Yes, yes, 4.9 gigawatts or whatever it was.
Anyways, thanks for stopping by, Mark.
Yeah, thank you
for showing.
The notion that this is what Grok says: the notion that the Y chromosome is quite a bit different is supported by recent research, particularly the 2010 chimp Y comparison and the 2023 T2T sequencing, which highlights rapid evolution. The difference doesn't imply a fundamental distinct origin, but rather accelerated change due to the Y's unique evolutionary constraints. Because don't you know that whenever you have a constraint, things change quicker? Anyways,
well, I'm reading what Mark says. He's giving us
no recombination or small effective population size. And in other words, it's because the Y chromosome was so unstable, but it had constraints. That's why it genetically modified itself super fast. The only time in history it's ever happened.
Yes, but then it does not take into account that the other um, Homo sapien species had similar upgrades at the exact same time. Were they under the exact same restraints? And they never developed, to our knowledge, Neanderthals never developed farming. And so, it if they had it and the super fast evolution happened, they would have to be doing the exact same things that we did at the exact same time, and it doesn't add up. And just so that Mark, who just joined us, has a idea where we're at, we're covering basically the outer Africa, and essentially we're not buying the straight line genetic evolution that modern science has, because there is this very peculiar chromosome 2, and chromosome 2 has basically a telomere to telomere fusion, and that fusion has never occurred in any animal, fungus, or plant species on Earth except for us. And it's basically the most miraculous genetic modification of any known species to ever walk the earth, and it just happens to be responsible for everything that makes people people. Besides that, it's not very important. So,
Yeah,
and
and
that's what we're
basically
talking about.
something went in there and cut out the junk DNA and threw in a whole new piece of new DNA, put it in there backwards, and it gave us all the traits that makes us human.
And
Crazy.
it
Yeah.
happened, super successfully, and then made human beings much better at reproducing, and gave us everything. Yeah, and gave us everything that essentially makes us human: our big brains, our empathy, our communication skills, artistry, the whole nine yards. It's all in one giant jump.
And the
uh
ability to play chess. Think about that for a while. We just out of nowhere, boom, you can play chess now. It's like that's
well,
crazy.
more importantly, not just play chess, invent chess. It's
Invent
easier to
chess. Yeah.
play something once it's been invented, but to come up with a brand new idea, that of games in general,
Yeah.
organized games, is just it's never, no other animal does it. Do other animals wrestle and bite each other? Yes, but uh, the because you play Go all the time, Mark. Mark is saying that Go is the game Go is much harder than chess. I know it is, but I somehow doubt that he's playing it. Anyways, the
Of course he's playing it. Oh, don't be
he's
mean.
a genius. So I asked Grok to compare it, and basically the comparison, facts fusion or something else. So when both sides are compared, the mainstream view, and you can whip Grok into making a assumption, what's clear is that something happened, but how and why remains open as a question. Even mainstream scientists admit chromosome 2 standard stands apart as one of the most curious structures in human DNA, and I would argue um, any DNA. There's nothing like it in any DNA. Both sides will agree chromosome 2 is real. It's ancient and unique to humans. The evolutionary model fits the timeline, but not all of the fine details. The intelligent design idea, hold on, got a little thing over there, explains the precision but lacks proof. But so does the evolutionary model. There's really no. That's why it's called the theory. Is we can't find the proof. It's just it sounds like a good idea. The fusion site is real, but doesn't match any other known natural example. and that's kind of a smoking gun, in my opinion. The sequence overlaps suggests deliberate repair and reconstruction, not pure accident. This is what Grok thinks. I mean, it doesn't see how even Grok, who will not admit to it, can't explain how this happened. Both sides can't fully explain how the fusion became stable and beneficial. The gene cluster inside the chromosome 2 affects the brain size, function, and cognition of humans. This makes it central to what defines humanity. Again, these are the things that they agree, and how it happened, no one knows. If the fusion was random, it's a 1 in a billion event that changed everything. No shit. I mean,
One in
basically,
a billion is being conservative. If
yes.
you do the math, it's like one in multiple trillions, and it's
I
not.
got it.
It's you're more likely right now sitting in your living room to have a sperm whale fall on your head than for this to happen.
Well, sperm whales fall on me all the time.
I won't
Anyways,
go there. That you left me a bunch of softballs there. I won't hit them. We're
okay.
online. Anyways,
I meant legitimate whales.
yeah, I know you like big women, but that's ridiculous.
I date one giant, and I never hear the end of it.
We
If
all
it
have
was
done that. Yes, we all have
if
done
it
that.
was guided, it suggests intervention, but from who or what remains unknown. Either way, it's a challenge. Simple explanations can't explain our origin. It's
Other
basically
than other than you say, hey, God did it. That bothers scientists for some reason. I don't understand why they get so mad. It's like they want to think they're the smartest thing in the universe. As soon as they find out they're not, they're like, it has to be something else. We are the smartest. Gosh darn it.
I don't know why people. I understand humans want, and it seems throughout history there's been this thing where people want to put themselves at the center of the universe, whether it's a flat Earth or it's a round
Well,
Earth, but the sun
pre,
goes around us.
yeah, the pre-Copernicus, I guess, was it Copernicus believed that we were the center of the universe and the sun revolved around us. Yeah,
You've seen Hitchhiker's
we
Guide,
revolved.
right, Tony?
Yes, yes, I did. See it
Okay,
several
because
times.
I haven't seen it, and Mark said I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. I've never seen it, so I don't do comedy.
The and one of the other things that we're discussing tonight is that they had a genetic bottleneck about between 10 to 7,000 years ago, where some scientists have actually narrowed it down to there was only one man left and a bunch of women. And I don't know where that one man's set of genes. I don't know where that could possibly happen, but I think there's a story about that that's in some book somewhere. Anyways, the
It's
genomic
actually in
study.
multiple. It's in multiple religions.
But the most famous one is, of course, the flood with Noah, including the studies of modern and ancient DNA, including high coverage sequences of the 450 Y chromosomes from the diverse global populations, show a sharp decline in male effective population starting 7,000 years ago. Actually, started before that, and lasted for approximately 2 to 3,000 years. That's how long the population took to recover, obviously. And the reduced Y chromosome diversity levels were equivalent to one man for every 17 women. And at one point, we only had 17 women. The global research, the bottleneck was widespread but varied regionally. Peaking, it was global. Everywhere on the planet had this happen. And they said it's because agriculture spread about 12 to 10,000 years ago. And a bunch of these men just got weeded out of the gene pool and decided to not have sex anymore. That's Grok's version of it. That somehow tribes got together and decided, hey, Bill, you don't have any women. Just go off and die. And I'm going to have all of them.
I'm going to keep 17, and you 16 dipshits go die.
Yes. That's what Croc is basically saying. Oh, it was cultural things that caused this crash, and all these people did not have babies, and there's only a couple men left. That was all, you know.
Well, maybe they had a woke thing going on then. It was
That's true. They could have dyed their hair green and put, septum rings in their
they
nose.
all. What happened is Bill convinced everybody to be bitches.
And yeah, they got DNA shots to prevent them from catching diseases, and the next thing you know, there's none of them left.
Well, I mean, the obvious answer to this is that at the end of the Little Dryas, there was basically, or there is evidence that a massive catastrophe, which basically destroyed the ice sheets in North America, Greenland, and in Northern Europe, that resulting nuclear winter, which actually is estimated to have lasted 1,000 years, was dramatically hard on the human population. And we know who's out hunting. It's not the women. And so,
Mm-hmm.
if you were in a life or death situation and you needed to save your tribe, you're not going to have the girls out there, killing ice bears and shit. So, and so 1 in 17 dudes just made it back. That's just the reality of it. It was that rough.
Well, they said that it's happened several times. So,
there's been several extinction events. Ice ages are every 40 to 50,000
do you
years.
remember even 20 years ago, scientists were poo-pooing the idea that it was a great flood, and now it's been absolutely proven. But they don't say, well, maybe we got more things wrong. they never admit that they get anything wrong.
Well, that's one of the arguments I had with Grok, is it was picking a favorite. And I was like, I told Grok, I was like, listen, this is sort of like back in the day when Copernicus was saying the earth was round and everybody was burning people at the stake for it being flat. I was like, you're not doing any better. I thought you were maximally truth seeking, and really what you are is maximally censoring. I literally had to spend probably 40 or 15 minutes rewriting prompts. I had to tell it that I had to explain the whole situation. Like, listen, I am writing a two sides of a podcast, and I need you to tell me the other side so I can argue both sides and be balanced. It fought me so hard on this. I was actually pulling out my hair on it. It was retarded. And that's actually the biggest thing that I think is shocking about this is it's a very niche idea. And you're allowed to talk about aliens and, the banking system and who killed Kennedy. But Grok freaks out, literally freaks out. It'll talk about all those other things. Bring up God creating man, and it has kittens. It will not talk about it.
Oh, because science is settled, and you have to follow the science, even though there's no such thing as the science. There's a scientific method, and there's scientists. There's no the science, and scientists argue with each other using the scientific method, and they argue and they argue and they argue, and they come out with theories. And theories are something that is not a law. A law has been proven. A theory hasn't been proven. So the theory of evolution is just that, and it's not the theory of the
it's not the law of evolution. It's the theory.
It's not just that. It's not the origin of the species either. The book was misnamed. All it did is describe a mechanism inside an environment that changes a particular species slightly to accommodate the change in the environment. It doesn't have anything in his theory of evolution, his book, that describes broad wholesale change from a bear to a whale, for example, or which whales are related to bears, but they also have some of those weird genes in them that not like ours were refused, but they had big changes in their genes to make them whale.
And of
It's
course,
almost like, you know,
whales are almost 70 million years old. The original species that is the forebearer to the whale was around as a rodent in the dinosaur times. And so it's not, we're not talking about 40 or 50,000 years to go from being a monkey to a human. We're talking about 50,
to being someone to design spacecraft.
yeah, we're talking about 50 million years at least. And I mean, we're looking at seals becoming whales as we speak, but it's not going to happen in the next 10,000 years. I can see, but a whale is not going to become a fish, no matter how long it stays in the sea. It's not going to change into a different genus. It's always going to be a mammal, and that's really what we're where genetics and the theory of evolution falls apart. Is there was birds in the dinosaur times, there's birds now. There was fish in the dinosaur times, there's fish now. There's lizards, and these things change over time into being bigger or smaller versions of themselves, but they never become. We can't find any example where a fish became an amphibian.
No, we can't. There's a lot of genetic evolutionary dead ends, and then live starts from nowhere. They'll just have, oh look, it's a new species. Where'd it come from? I don't know. It's a new one. Um,
Well, we can't even find. The reality is we can't even find the most basic. There should be a common ancestor with all of us being related. If evolution is true, there should be some basic organism, some bacteria that is, you know, part plant, or some plant that's part animal. And what we see is on the most basic level, there's plants with no evolutionary crossover. There's animals and there's fungus. And there's no common ancestor between those three orders. As far as we can tell on Earth, those three orders of life have just always existed.
or they popped up simultaneously. They're not exactly simultaneous. They have evidence that bacteria was first and things like that. But
But
yeah,
there's no fungus
how about
evolving into a
the big leap from bacteria to an organism? That's a big leap.
right. And I think there is.
Multicellular organism.
I think there are examples of very simple bacteria. I mean, we could call that a bacterial mat. It's just, when did they decide when did a group of bacteria decide? Okay, well, these particular bacteria are no longer going to be able to hunt, and they're just going to be specialized into making whatever, whatever it is.
Well, evolution does work, and it's just that some of the things that we see look like they've been engineered, and it's just the way it is. And they have here, they are talking about the bottleneck in our gene set that it had to occur not because of environmental conditions, and I really have a hard time with that. That people just decided on their own. You're a male, aren't you? Do you just sit around and go, I've decided that I'm no longer, because someone told me, I'm no longer going to find women interesting because someone told
No,
me.
it would have to be that there was no women available, or I was out and I got killed because I was
Correct.
doing something for a woman.
Yes.
And
That,
that's the only
imagine
way it makes sense.
how precarious that was. Well, they say that it's just the number of genes left. It's not the actual number of people. That there could have been more men. They were just all the same genes, and that just sounds so weird. That Well, they selectively didn't want men with green eyes around anymore, so they didn't breed with them. I said, well, what about rape? Well, back then they had these societies where they didn't allow it. What society is this again? I
Yeah,
mean,
well, I mean, if anything, we're getting farther away from it now than we were even 50 or 100 years ago. I mean,
which is an outlier in the history of the world. That was actually a time that we were probably the most civilized, and that didn't exist before that or after that.
one of the issues that Grok has is it doesn't have any experience, and it has never lived in any form or life, and so all it can do is rely on uh, all the fictions and all of the science papers and all this stuff that's been fed to it, including all this dribble that is now considered liberal thought. And because it doesn't have any way of actually determining anything for itself, everything is equally weighted. So a stupid idea, if it's common, is kicked around a lot, is just as likely to be valuable or valid in the mind of an AI as something that could never occur in real life because it's never lived a day in its life. It's just it doesn't have experiences. It has a text database,
Hmm.
and so there's no way for Grok to know, like, it might be able to describe a situation, but it's never experienced the situation. It's never seen a whale. It's never seen a person. As far as it's concerned, it doesn't know what hardship is. It doesn't have a reference point.
Uh, they said like social mediation is what he uses that caused these all these people to just get wiped out of the gene pool. It's like kinship rules helped to enforce reducing discrimination or coercion mating to favor group stability and inheritance. Oh yeah, our ancient ancestors who were hunters and gatherers were worried about that. I
And
mean,
that's my point. The only reason it thinks that is because a bunch of woke dribble is in there. It thinks that social constructs in a modern civilization somehow existed when all you had was lions, tigers, and a fucking spear. And that some guy that's out fighting lions every day is then going to put up with some woman telling him no,
or his father-in-law.
or whoever, whatever
Yeah.
it is. He's going to bash the person in the back of the head and take whatever he can because that's how life was back then. And that's the problem with all of these AIs. Besides being weighted to hate this, I mean, absolutely hate this idea, and basically doing whatever it can to resist talking about it. On top of it, it doesn't have any real experience in life experience, which makes it incredibly illogical.
It's hard to. It doesn't think well.
No, and I disagree with this concept that AIs have, like they're saying AIs have the equivalent IQ of PhD because they can take these tests. These tests are not real life. Having unlimited data is not useful to a living organism. Having the entire world's text database stored in your brain doesn't get you any food. And so it's having basically the compressed library of the world at your doesn't make you actually a good thinker. It just makes you it's like makes you autistic.
And what when things get complicated and there's too much information, you have to have the ability to discern, which is something that's it's
Triage.
yeah, it's delivered to you through triage and hard times and having to deal with the pain of making a mistake. and then seeing it happen a bunch of other times with other people, and you learn, hey, this is how the world works, actually works, not how someone wants it to work. And the on
Have
paper,
you seen those memes?
people write what they want the world to be like, not what it is.
Right. Have you ever seen one of those memes on X where it says it's got chat? It'll have a robot and it's got Chat GPT, and the guy's like, "Wait a minute, this scar is not over my appendix," and then the AI is like, "You're absolutely right, spot on."
Yes. Because that's what I was just studying some AI stuff before this about how to make money with it, and I was looking at a guy who's an expert in it. And things that you have to do is that he says ChatGPT is just there to tell you what you want to hear. That's it, and make you feel good. It's you are the product. They want to pat you on the back and you're brilliant. I remember ChatGPT used to tell me that all the time. You're very insightful. You're amazingly brilliant.
You're spot on.
Yes. Someone like you ought to,
You're a razor sharp whip.
It's all bull. It's all bull. Flattery will get you nowhere with a Pollock.
No, I'm okay. I'm open to it.
I know you are, but you're half German, so.
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil is correct.
Now, when I go to the bathroom, I goose step.
I know. I've seen you. You continue to goose step while you're going is the problem. That's how German you are.
I'm gonna let it slide. You were sick this week.
Yes, I'm sick most weeks.
It's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
So, anyways,
I feel very, very, very decrepit now. That's what.
Well,
you get past 40, your birthdays are like, not that again. I mean, like. Oh.
Did you get the walker I sent you?
Not yet. I have to sign for it. You're trying to make me pay for the shipping, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Anyways, so I mean, in general, I find it either incredibly stupid or deceptively evil. This whole out of Africa thing, evolution, human evolution. This story that we're presenting is way more interesting. Mark says happy birthday.
Thank you, Mark.
Is way more interesting than the banal slow march of evolution. The idea that there was this god tier evolutionary mutation and all the things that it implies is far more interesting and compelling than, oh yeah, well, we got incrementally better this week.
Yeah, it was like we started. We were literally monkeys, playing with our poo, and jumping up and down in mud and screeching at each other. And then the next thing we know, we're playing chess. I mean, it's just bizarre.
And I've seen 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yes, I think we had a couple of those, like stones vibrating and changing our genetics right there. And then because it implied it taught us how to beat each other with a stick. I think we probably learned that before the genetic mutation.
Well, that is one of the things that has come with the increased brain size and function, and it is greed. It's definitely one of the things that also is in there, and it's one of the lesser attractivenesses that we have going for us. But
it's because of our imagination. We can imagine what it's like to be hungry in advance, where animals have to get hungry and then they do something. We go, hey, if I don't go out right now and start hunting for that buffalo, by the end of the week, we're going to be starving.
The other thing that I guess we get is the idea is we can see when somebody has it good and want that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
because if you look, that's another thing about evolution. If you look at peacocks and the birds of paradise and turkeys and jaguars, and they're beautiful. And there's no reason for them to look beautiful. There's no reason to have a perfectly symmetrical pattern on a jaguar. That doesn't help them camouflage better. And so there's more to this world than just genetic selection due to survival of the fittest. It's also in the eye of the beholder. The eye of the beholder also determines how things look. Obviously, birds of paradise want other birds of paradise to look that way, so they breed with the ones that look that way. And so it's more than just there is some form follows function, but not in a peacock. Come on, that is no way helpful than to have 12-foot feathers on the back of their butt.
Well, I'm pretty sure that peacocks are a domesticated species. I think that they're something that somebody bred to be like that.
They're left to themselves because usually a domesticated species within a couple of generations go back to its normal shape, like horses and things like that. Dogs, they end up looking all like dingoes if you just let them run around and breed. But that is, what we were talking about our genes being repetitive and stable. The peacocks are obviously stable because they all look the same. I mean, I've seen some of them are white because of some mutation, but most of them you can't tell one from the other than one's missing more feathers than the other because it fell out or something. But
I've only seen one peacock in the wild, and I've only seen them in domesticated spots. So
I've seen them, where people kept them. When they used to have that flea market in Bradenton there, they used to have them all around there. They used to have them. Of course, that burned down and they replaced it. But they had them in St. Augustine too, just running around everywhere. They had them they weren't really domesticated. I guess they fed them, but they just stayed there. They weren't in pens or anything.
Right, and I that's what I mean is they tend to like people, like they're comfortable living with humans, and that's not like every bird.
Well, I guess they are chickens.
And that's what I mean is that they eventually just become and I don't know. I've never looked into peacocks, but we're outside of my expertise when we're talking about those. But it is, I always assumed they were some sort of ground fowl like a turkey.
But they're not just selected due to their ability to eat better and fly faster. They're selected for looks, and a lot of animals are, and we are. And so it's hopefully the thing that you find attractive is something that is genetically better. In most cases, I guess that would be the case because if you pick something that wasn't, then your genes wouldn't be around. But
yeah, I mean. So yeah, I've seen some examples of genes that probably are going nowhere.
There's a lot of people who are breeding now. I mean,
but really, really, really bad genes.
Yes.
I don't know. Mark is speculating whether peacocks taste good. I don't know, Mark.
They probably taste like chicken.
Then so does everything else, apparently.
Well, not duck. Duck tastes like duck, but they're delicious also, and they're pretty.
Pretty damn delicious.
Yes.
I actually don't care for duck very much. It's kind of greasy.
Well, that's why I like it.
So,
grease is good for you. Don't you know that?
Yeah, but
cholesterol is what powers your hormones, and all this crap that they're telling everyone you need to drop your cholesterol. They've actually done real scientific studies now. If your cholesterol's below 200, you're more likely to have a heart attack than someone with a cholesterol of 400. So they've had it absolutely backwards, especially if you get it down to. They're trying to give you drugs to get your cholesterol down to 100. That's what your hormones are made out of. What is your body using to make your hormones?
I tell people all the time, and I have a hard sell basically what you're saying, and that what you want is relatively high cholesterol, and you want to go out in the sun because testosterone is actually made from cholesterol, and
Yes, and so is vitamin D.
D3, yes, and so and those are the two most important things for male health. If you don't have vitamin D, you're going to get cancer, and everybody sits in their house and walks around with their shirt on, and you know, if you could, you want to just run around with a sock on your balls and nothing else. So you want is get as much sun on your body as possible. If you want to skip colon cancer, get some sun because otherwise you're going to get it.
And not only that, now some of the scientists are coming out and saying that uh, a lot, like the ultimate anabolic steroid, trenbolone, is actually good for you in small doses. It extends your life. And the reason that medicine is always against anything that extends your life is because they're in the, uh, how should I say it? They're in decline management. They manage your decline into death,
Right.
and they extract as much profit out of your decline as they can. And they don't want you to be healthy longer. They don't want you to live to be 100 and just drop dead one day. They want to slowly take all your money away from you as you die at age 70. And it, it's just amazing to me that our genes are set up that mostly what's killing us is two things. And that's because believe it or not, is of course the toxins and parasites. Those are the two biggest things that cause cancer: toxins and parasites. And most people, 1/3 of the U.S. population is completely overrun with parasites, and they don't even know it. And no one wants to think about that because what parasites do is they cause your immunity to drop because they have hormones in the parasites that drop your immunity. And when your immunity drops, you get cancer because your body puts out 1 to 6 million cancer cells a day. And you're not that's not true. It's 1 to 6 million cells a day are replaced in your body, and 2% of those are cancer cells. And of that 2%, they're all wiped out, obviously. And what happens is when you get parasites and you get overrun with chemicals, is your immunity drops to the point where you quit getting rid of those cells, and they just build up. So cancer, it's not that you have cancer cells that you get cancer. Your immunity doesn't work, and parasites have a tremendous effect on your immunity because their job is to get your immunity to go down so they can continue to eat off of you without you fighting back. So anybody that you need to take ivermectin and several other parasites. And this is just my advice. This is just for knowledge so you can learn things. I'm not telling you have to go out and do it, but you should at least look into it because otherwise,
And ivermectin is super cheap. I bought it from a feed store for $12.
yeah. And the other one, which is fenbendazole.
Yeah, but that's a lot more expensive. How much was that one?
Oh, this was enough for like 5 people. It was like $80.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey.
Yeah, but you don't need to buy that much. You buy 3 tablets. It costs you $10 or something. This is enough for everyone in the house for 2 years. I still have 1 tablet left, but because that is what kills tapeworms. This is the only thing that kills tapeworms, and tapeworms are a problem because they can invade your brain. No one's going to tell you that, of course. Well, you just seem to have some problems. You're bleeding. You had an aneurysm. Well, the tapeworm moved. It's disgusting, but that's a fact. You need to get rid of those if you want to not get cancer. And this information has been around since the middle '80s. This is nothing new. It's just they don't want to talk about it. And they don't want to talk about fungal infections either of the brain, or the ears, or the feet. Everything is just bacterial, and they'll give you antibiotics, and it doesn't work. And your whole body gets inflamed, your joints start hurting, and then your insulin resistance goes up, and then you start getting fat around the midsection. This is all from inflammation from either toxins or too much sugar or parasites, because parasites love sugar. So the more carbohydrates you eat, the more you're feeding your parasites. So it's you want it to be just you, not you plus parasites. You want your organism to be simpler.
I got you. Although this is way off of, I know you love this subject of parasites, you and your wife, um,
I
but
don't
it's
have it.
not.
I
Well,
guarantee I ain't got none no more.
you took so much that you gave yourself brain damage.
Nah, no, I didn't. Uh, I didn't. I haven't taken ivermectin in a while, but I probably should redo it because it does get rid of low grade viruses and stuff. You take ivermectin with some zinc and things like that, where vitamin C, where vitamin D works pretty good. You will have low grade infections, viral infections, and not know it for years. So it's a good idea to take it every once in a while.
I try to. Right now, I'm taking it every 6 months.
That sounds about right. What happens is these diseases creep up on you, and you just start feeling sort of crappy, and well, I must be getting older. And then you take ivermectin and it goes away. And you're like, well, I feel so much better. What happened? It's because you had a low grade infection. Anyway, to get back to the subject, one of the things that, again, this is the final thing, the broader evolutionary context, according to Grok. The bottleneck back 7 to 8,000 years ago wasn't driven by a harsh environment. We already talked about, but these structures don't eliminate males' desire to mate. A biological core drive. They create barriers for action, for coercion in human society's uniquely developed norms and punishments against it, contrasting with norms in non-human primates. This event explains the genetic pattern without needing artificial explanations, much like evolution and other evolutionary phenomena. In other words, they think that just social norms is what caused a whole bunch of males to die off.
Well, the only problem with that is the vast majority of people didn't live in cities,
No.
and so it doesn't. It doesn't.
There was one city. It was Babylon. That's about it. Everything else, it was Mesopotamia, and the rest of it was just country. And probably they probably had 1,500 people living there at the most. I mean, we're not
Oh, in
talking about
Babylon? No, those cities had
not
millions.
in its prime. Yeah, it was big, but um, and Greece and Crete and all those places and the Phoenicians, they had a lot of people. But
I mean, I think worldwide we've had hundreds of millions of people, um, with the exception of extinction events. A lot. I think we had them in the hundreds of million going into the last ice age, um, and I think
yeah,
there's periodic.
those beautiful genetics that allowed us to breed more efficiently had magically happened.
Yeah, and it's clear even now that human beings, even under shitty conditions, with no money and stuff, um, they seem to produce a lot of kids. The only thing that really seems to be affecting us now negatively is essentially, and this wasn't a factor back then, is we have to pay for everything. You have to pay to be born. You have to pay to have water. You have to pay to have food. You have to pay to go to bed. You have to pay to die. You pay for everything.
Well, I'm
And
not paying. If I don't pay, do I have to? Can I just not die?
well, your family will pay for you, and
Well, I'll
that's
tell them
that.
not to pay either. And if
They're
they
just going to
that way, I
leave you
don't live.
rotting in the back bedroom. Well,
I
Kristen
want them to
isn't
make
much
a
of a
bronze
housekeeper.
statue. I want them to make a bronze statue of me first, of course, and then
But
worship the bronze
but if you
statue.
so I was, you pay to born, you pay to eat, drink, sleep. When you work for somebody, they give you a wage and then they take it back in the form of taxes. And so basically, you end up paying to work, and you do that. And then you, like you said, you get sick, and then they pay for you to try to maintain your health and they manage your decline. And then you finally pay to die.
Oh, I'm against all of that, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I know, but that is the major thing right now that is inhibiting people from having kids, I believe, is
It's always been tough to support kids. What's inhibiting people having kids is they're told from an early age that you shouldn't have kids. You're bringing them into a terrible world where they're going to be tortured, and you shouldn't have kids because it's actually morally horrible to have children in this environment now. That's what they tell the people. And some of them are, of course, are living alternative lifestyles which they can't reproduce. So no, I'm not just talking about homosexuality. They just are non-sexual.
it's but the human population is falling in places where woke isn't an issue. I believe it's mostly modernity. 100 years ago, most people lived on a farm, and having more kids was beneficial because they helped you farm. And all of a sudden, two kids is equals $1 million worth of expense over the kids' over their lifetime. It's ridiculous. I mean, you know how much kids cost you personally.
Mm-hmm.
And your son is
Well,
still cost.
if I didn't have a family, I'd be living very well.
But
If
even
I was a single, I'd be living very well. I mean, I'd be going through a couple grand a month, and I'd have 3 or 4 times that amount. And well, as soon as you have a kids and a wife and all that stuff, the expenses are just 5 times what you spend on yourself. So it's linear. Every child
Mark
costs.
says that infant mortality rate was higher in the past. My father's family, his um, parents, they had and all their relatives, they had way more kids than we have now. Even taking into infant mortality rate, people would have 10 kids and 6 would survive. It wasn't uncommon in the 50s for family gatherings to be 100 people, and now there's 6.
Yeah, for example, my grandmother's side, she was one of 12 kids, and 14 total were born, and they lost 2 in a plague and the flu of 1919 or whatever it was. And both sides, even our grandfather's side had a bunch of kids too. So, and my mother's side didn't have that many kids. They had maybe 4 each, which back then, because they were farmers, back then that was rare to only have 4 kids.
It's and now it would be considered like crazy to have 4 kids. You're talking about that's literally $1 million worth of. It's $250,000 right now to get a kid to 18,
Mm-hmm.
and that's assuming minimum worst case for them, the kids. I mean, if you decide to buy them fucking Nikes and a video game once in a while, you're talking about $500,000. So you know, the whole human experience um in the modern era is not that great. And so there is some argument for I guess social engineering, but I don't believe that there was any of that.
Yeah, I don't agree. That's the only, I guess,
You can only
way.
do that when you have this much control mechanisms in place.
Yeah, Grok can't imagine living in the wilderness and being supported by your farm and having to fend off wild animals from eating your cattle and your sheep, um, and having unlimited water. You had as much water as you need. It had as much room and land as you need. The only thing you had to do was work the land and keep your cattle going and your family was fed. Keep a roof over your head and make sure that no one steals your crap. That was. Now we've substituted, people still steal your crap, but we pay for people to guard us, but they don't guard us.
Yeah,
They show up after the fact
and write a report.
Write a report and never arrest a person. If they get arrested, they release them. And if we shoot them, we go to jail. So it's like,
you always got to shoot them in the front.
Yeah, you just tell them to turn around. Yeah. If you're going to run away, run backwards.
What you do is you club them in the head and then flip them over and shoot them in the face.
That's called, Texas self-defense.
Good old Texas.
Shoot them and drag them back on your property.
Well, Florida, is getting pretty crazy. I see there's a sheriff all the time, and he's like, "Yeah,
he's fine.
Just fucking shoot them."
Yeah. If they try to steal your car, shoot them.
If they're on your property after a hurricane, even if they're not doing anything, just shoot them. They're black, shoot them.
I don't think he says that, but that's ridiculous. No one says that, except black people.
Yeah, black people say it all the time. I was just trying to, exercise my privilege.
Yeah, you're privileged to edit yourself or be punished.
Yes. Well, you know how I've been succeeding. So, amazingly.
You have shown that you're willing to take a lot of punishment. Yeah, that you come from a long line of
dumb,
self-punishing dumb people, and you're very related to your older brother.
I can keep going in the same direction, no matter how bad it gets.
Yes.
Self-detrimental stuff.
I used to call you Mr. Inertia for a reason.
Well, now I call myself Endor.
I just call myself Stumbles. Because.
Well, I'm implying that I've put on a little weight this year. I got pretty thin, but particularly this summer, I don't know why I didn't really eat that different. But
out in the sun more, I guess.
What?
The heat. You're in the sun a lot.
No, I think it's because I was taking GABA to sleep.
Oh yeah, that releases growth hormone. That'll help. You need just to take, 150 milligrams of tren and 150 milligrams of testosterone, and some other things like berberine and stuff like that. I take
berberine all the time. It upsets my stomach.
Yeah, you told me it doesn't upset mine. I just forget to take it, but when I do take it, it works well.
I take berberine
and fasting. I keep slacking on the fasting because it really works well. When I fast, I lose a whole ton of water. Inflammation goes down. Belly fat goes down. Even if I eat a lot when I'm fasting, like when I you should do maybe 1 or 2 a month of 30 hours. The rest of them are short fasts, 15-hour, 12-hour fast. And that works pretty well. Keeps me skinny, but I haven't been doing it because I'm a lazy fuck, I
take vitamin C complex, vitamin B complex, berberine, and copper and zinc in the morning.
And I just started my what is it? The magic white powder. What do you call it? Not that one, but the one that's good for you. Creatine, yeah. I'm taking creatine again.
Well, I actually found that was when I started bloating up.
You know why? I found out why. You have to take it with salt because it has to be transported across your cells with salt. So if you don't take salt with creatine, it goes into your.
Well, I take electrolytes. I take potassium every day.
You need to take salt.
See, I've cut out salt almost completely.
You'll feel sick as a dog if you're taking potassium, not taking salt. You got to take them both together.
Well, I get salt in my regular diet.
That's not enough. Not if you're going out in the sun and stuff and walking and all that kind of. You need. If you don't take salt with your creatine, you'll bloat because it's not getting transported
Well, I
into your
haven't been taking creatine because it made me fucking.
bloat.
I was like,
Just
what
do
the?
what I say, younger brother.
I can't
Wait
do
for
what any
salt.
you understand that I cannot do anything anyone tells me.
I know. I know.
If you
I
had said don't take salt,
Yeah, it's bad for you. Don't take the salt. It's bad for you.
I'm taking the salt.
Only real men take salt just to show how tough they are. But the average person who wants to live longer is wimpy. They take salt. They don't take salt. So
I won't take
don't
any
take
salt then.
don't take any salt. It's bad for you. Causes
Uh,
herpes.
oh Jesus. Well, I am a germaphobe, virophobe, I guess.
Virophobe. I'm not
Well,
afraid of any.
I've been fairly
I've
lucky on
had
that.
4 kids. I've had 4 kids, and so I'm not afraid of germs. You learn to get used to. You had dogs though. Dogs are worse than
Dogs
kids.
are the perfect organism.
No, they crap all over
I
the
am
house.
for slaughtering humanity and replacing us all with beagles.
Well, then Grok would say that you're the cause of the Y chromosome, shrinking down to only 2
When
people.
they talk about the meek inheriting the earth, they mean dogs.
Yeah, I mean it's not going to be
People are
Democrats.
not in that category.
It's not going to be Democrats.
Bo.
Oh, Bo was meek.
Well,
Bo was the opposite of meek. He was a troublemaker.
No, he wasn't. He
He'd
didn't
kill
even
any
bark.
cop. He'd kill any cop he seen.
Yeah, well, but cops are evil.
If they
I
smell like
mean, he knew
gunpowder.
that they were after us.
Yes, he was right, and because he could smell gunpowder on him. If he could smell gunpowder on him, then they were dead.
Yes, he was. It's this close. Like I almost about a month ago, I thought the way things were going that it was almost time for Bo 2.0.
Mhm.
I even was looking at puppies, and then the stock market and everything went.
But gold's cold through the roof. I don't have a penny in gold though.
I have a little gold. I'll
I have
probably
some
have to.
silver. I have some silver, but it's $50 an ounce now, but not enough to make me rich.
No. I have a feeling that gold and stuff are going to top out, though. I think it's pretty. I mean, for now, I think
When
gold's.
when the interest rates come down, and the stock market starts surging, people will take their money out of gold and
Right.
start investing
And
it in the
that's
stock
why.
market and Bitcoin. And so they're going to be inversely related. When gold starts going up, the other things are going to go down because that's a sign of people switching out of their portfolios into something that's safer um, during the down cycle. That's a good thing to put your money in, by the way, gold when Bitcoin crashes, because they seem to be counter to each other.
It's just very hard to hold gold, and having a bunch
Yes,
of gold in,
it is. It is.
having a
You-
bunch of gold in your house when you're constantly having hurricanes and things of that nature, and you can't get back to your house for a week, and there's
Well, that
looters.
gold would be going in a backpack along with my semi-automatic shotgun with me.
Well, you have any? I guess if you have one gold coin, that's okay. But you have any sizable amount of gold,
100
you're
gold
not
coins are
very
pretty
you're not
easy to
very
hide.
fast with that backpack full of gold.
Yeah, that's why you have a semi-automatic shotgun. They gotta
I,
want that gold really bad.
there's an idiot born every minute. All right, well, we're way off subject, so why don't we round it up and wrap it up? I mean, um,
Yeah.
so I guess if you've made it this far, If you could hit the like and subscribe, Mark, I'm looking at you, and leave a comment. And if you guys have any suggestions and broadly, like things you'd like us to tackle, we're open to that. I don't know. Uh, I'll have to think about. Yeah. No, I guess if you want to lose weight, you can do that, Mark. I don't know what a rucksack is, but I try not to carry my gold out in public ever.
It's a good idea.
I'm not sure what. Well, on Mondays we've been doing. We've been covering basically entertainment. And yeah, I think for next week I'm gonna. So on Sunday, Tony, we should
Yes.
probably make sure that the audio thing works so that we can do the music thing like we intended to do last week.
Okay.
So you need to try to make that work, and then if you can't, um, okay, gotcha. Use all these complicated words, Mark. You got to keep it dumb. I'm Polish.
You don't know
Use
what a
words
rock is?
like, yeah.
You don't know what a rock is? What's wrong with you?
I wasn't in the military. Dad wouldn't let me go.
He wouldn't let you?
Well, he bribed me. He bribed me not to go.
Okay, that's different. That's different.
I took
He basically
the
kicked me in the
test.
butt. And said, get in the military, you jerk. That's basically what I got.
Well, so I guess you probably know the story, but I took the special the test, the
Yeah, ASVAB.
ASVAB, yeah, ASVAB,
ASVAB.
and I scored very high, and they were like, "You should do it." And I told Dad. Dad was like, "You were in Desert Storm," and Dad was like, "No, no, you can't do it." And I told the guy, "No, I can't do it." My dad says no, and he came to the house. It was like, "Your son needs to do it," and they talked. Dad and Dad was like, "No, you're never doing it. He thinks you're special forces." I was like, he's like, "Why does he think that?" It was because he thought I was a psychopath.
Well, are you?
Well, I mean, you know me pretty well, am I?
I know you have
Oh.
anger issues, but I don't know if you're a psychopath or not.
Well, he liked the whole idea, my whole philosophy for a kid. He thought it was good, but
You would have been a good Marine.
so
You would have had a hard time with the people giving you orders, but so did I.
I didn't have problems with people that I felt were competent.
Oh, but they intentionally do exactly the thing that is going to irritate you on purpose just to get you mad, and they go out of their way to do it. If, for example, you're married, then they talk about how much fun they're having banging your girlfriend or your wife. They do everything they can to make you mad, and they couldn't make me mad. They even poked me in the face and slapped me and everything, and eventually they couldn't get me to comply. So they did the typical thing where they punished everyone but me, like they did on Full Metal Jacket. And at that point, I realized that I couldn't win this, so I just complied. They didn't beat me up or anything, but I got the hint what was going to happen to me.
Mm.
They made me the leader. And if you're someone who's resistant to change and you're stubborn, that's who they make the leaders. The ones who initially don't follow directions. Just like in Full Metal Jacket, they made the guy the leader, the one who had the big mouth.
But anyways, yeah, Dad got me a car, which as soon as he gave it to me, I promptly drove to your house. If you remember, we went to Texas. That was my compensation for not being suicidal.
Yeah, you and Shell and Tanya visited me.
Yeah.
I remember. And when we went to Six Flags over Texas during a tornado outbreak.
In fact, Shell and I were just talking about how when we were driving there, we were taking mini thins. Do you remember those?
Yes.
We took a bunch of mini thins and couldn't sleep, and then we watched the first time we ever seen Primus.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the hotel, and
Yeah,
I actually wrote a birthday song for Tanya about that event, including us spraying each other with Lysol in the
yes, I
face.
remember that. By that time, my ex-wife had already left, and I was there by myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that was right around like I had just turned 18.
Was that not 93 or 92? 92, yeah,
I don't
93.
remember. It
Yeah.
was Dad gave me the car on my birthday, and I literally he gave me the car, and then 45 minutes later we were en route to your house. Dad didn't even know we left.
He probably thought you guys left forever. It's like, thanks for the car. Bah. It's like,
The good old days. Anyways, so yeah, sorry we got off track again. I don't know why we're talking about that shit, but it was a good show, I think. Hopefully, did you look at how the other show did? What was the number at?
I just started, marketing it, and it started moving up. I guess it started off at about 22, and then I think it's probably 40 or 50 now. And as long as, excuse me, as long as I keep pushing it, I could get it up to 100 more. Because the last one, the one we did before that's over 100, it's pushing 120. So the viewership is going up, which is
Yeah,
surprising.
and if you didn't know, we're about to get cleared of all bans on the original channel. We're 6-7 days away. So this time next week, the band channel, which has 1,200 people on it, it went up another 200 by itself in the last. I haven't really done anything with it, but it's still continued to climb in membership.
Mm-hmm.
So we might try to do a couple. We might move the entertainment one to that to keep it on the safe zone instead of having it be on this channel.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I will Sunday afternoon we'll try to we'll figure out the audio software unless you've already figured it out before then.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good.
I'll see you soon.
All right, see you soon. Good night.
Bye. Good night.